Kakahayaka. Good morning to another Monday. Another week. Wow. Hard to believe that we've come so far so quickly. Anyway, it's another installment of Hiya Manao e Kumu. What is that you mean? In other words, time to ask questions. So, like we said, during the week, we're inviting people to send questions, and many of you did. Thank you. Uh, this week's question was anonymous, but it comes from someone that has participated in our classes or heard me valao, say certain things. So this week's question has to do with a statement or the concept of when things look down, look up. Uh, that concept, yeah. Ika nānā, ika lalo, he nānā, iluna. Look down, look up. So what do we mean by that? Well, first thing, many things in our kupuna's worldview isn't direct. It is counterintuitive. So sometimes you point left in order to look right. And in this case, you look down to see up. So it's built into those concepts. And it's not intended to be a redirect. But for those that need to find, it's not always as simple as asking a direct question. In fact, it was kind of rude for some to be that direct. So oftentimes they would veil the answer, hide it inside the kappa. You have to unfold it to find it. Because then when you find it, and you search for it, maikai. You've discovered something, and there's joy in that. But now it's yours. It's not something just given, but something discovered. And so this is very much along those same lines. Look down to look up. So one of the easiest or earlier concepts, one of the concepts is that we came from the down, the deep, to rise up to the high, where we're at. And that actually goes back to Kumu Lipo. The Kumu, Lipo, the source, the resource, or the source of darkness. Lipo, the deep, dark blue, the ui. Moana ui, the deep, dark sea. And so the metaphor there is that on one hand, science is saying, all life came from the ocean. The amoebas became crawlers, and then crawlers became walkers, and wings, and we took to the skies. And so the concept is that, at one point we came from the ocean, and our aspirations is to return to the heavens, to become gods. So if we want to know where we're going, we have to know where we come from. So look to the ocean, look to the past, so that we have a better idea of measuring our direction as we move into the future. Look down to look up. That's one concept. Another concept really has to do with this notion that the kilolani, those that would look for signs in the sky, would often find a pool, a loko, a pond, most often black bottom because of the lava. But this is why we find near Heiau places of knowledge, worship, study, often have these bowls or loko, ponds of water. It doesn't have to be very deep, just enough to reflect. This is the old mirror, mirror on the wall. So it allowed the kahuna kilo to look into the pond and see the reflection of the heavens, the celestial bodies immediately overhead. the moon, the stars, the constellations, all of those things. Because when you look up and you sit like this and look up, oftentimes the world is moving because you're moving. You don't necessarily see what's immediately over you. But by when you look into the pond, you see the direct reflection of what's immediately above you. So this could be said as our original observatories. So the Kilo would sit, and when he saw the reflection of the moon hit the Pohaku in the corner of the pond, he would know that it was a specific time. And then when it hit the coconut tree at another part of the pond, it was a different time. Look down into the pond to see up what's going on, to get an idea of what to do. So the concept was, in order for us to know what we were supposed to do that day, we would look to the heavens, to the moon, Mahina. Kalona Mahina. Under every moon, there is pono, an appropriate behavior. Hana pono, the appropriate behavior for that time, that day, that moment. For under this moon, it's appropriate to catch that fish. Tomorrow, don't try that fish, try something else. The next day, plant something, or don't plant something. Pono, what's appropriate? Not every day, not constant. Seasonal, changes. Appropriate, that's pono. To be appropriate, to be in the right place, the right time. As Auntie Morna would say, for your good and the good of others. And so if you're lost, you don't know what to do or where to go, the book is in the sky. You just look up. Under this moon, do this. Under that moon, do this. So our day actually starts when the moon rises, not when the sun rises. And we look to the moon, Mahina. Now remember, the moon doesn't have its own light. It's a reflection. So we reflect in the light of the moon. Take time to reflect, to think. So when things look down, reflect, so that you can begin to look up. The idea that, when we're sad, or kaumaha, the grief, the difficulty, the hard, the heaviness, heavy, so heavy the head goes. The head drops, the heaviness pulls you forward, but that's when you're looking down. And so the idea is, if I can look down, where? Into my pu'uvai, into my nāo. I can look for answers, not outside, but inside. And so look down to see and experience spiritual enlightenment, which comes from above. Inside, but from something greater. And this lesson talks about the difference between externalities that define us versus our intrinsic compasses and points of reference that allow us to be present. Yeah, so look in rather than out. Look down to understand what goes up. And sometimes we have to be at our lowest point in order to embrace that which is there above us all the time. And so this is the concept, the counterintuitiveness of it. At the same time, those that live in the mountains could also discern what was happening in the ocean. Yeah? The seasonal changes, 4 seasons. You have farmers and you have fishermen, mahiai, and you have lavaia, the other way. Fishermen and farmers, lavaia and mahiai. And each of them have 2 seasons, dry and wet. So though we have 2 seasons at large, it's really 4 seasons for these disciplines, 2 and 2. So when the farmer wants to know what's going on in the ocean, he would just look to his trees and to his plants. the puoko, the blossom of the sugar cane, when it blossoms, they say that's when the hay is coming up. You can go catch hay. If you're looking at the tree and the hala turns ripe, it gets red, purple. The ulu, the breadfruit, does the same thing. And the skin and the texture, those textures and those skins are reminiscent, reflective, representative of the creatures in the sea who are coming of age at the same time as the plants come of age. So the hauki-uki, yeah, they come ripe when the ulu and the hala is ripe. The he, it's ready to catch because its skin turns dark and purple. Just like the ulu. So look up to understand what's going down. Now, if you're in the ocean and you want to know, is the ulu ready? Look for the he, the squid. The hauki-uki, you know. The vanna, it's like a vanna, urchin. So our kupuna were very akamai in that way. Today in science they call it phrenology. The relationship of plants and animals and us, the kanaka, the shakers. So that's kind of it. That's a lot. And there's still more, but mahalo for the question. When things look down, look up. And right now, things are looking up. Okay. Mahalo nui. We see you guys next week. Remember, send in your questions. Because every time you send a question, it encourages learning. Even for the Kumu. Yeah. The student appears. And we learn. Mahalo nui. E malama pono. Aloha ahui ho. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Or as Uncle Joe used to tell me, we'll see you on the first chance we get. Okay, amigo, aloha.